Good morning students, welcome you all back to our social revision class. Today's class we are going to see about the outbreak of the revolution. Previous classes I have taught you about the causes for the revolution that was happening. We saw political causes. You remember students, political causes because of Louis XVI and his wife who have been lavish in spending their own, the bank's money, the country's money on the other activities like construction of palaces and extending his own kingdom. So next we saw about the economical crisis that was happening, subsistence crisis that was there in the nation. Then we saw certain other economical reason like taxes were being imposed on the peasants. They were not able to pay. So we saw all these as in cause of this outbreak of this revolution. So today we are going to see how this revolution broke out. And it had so many reasons. It was a stages that was being processing. So after that stage, you can find that the revolution has really started. So we saw in the previous aspect, like they had lot of tax which was being imposed on the people, and we also saw that the assemblies, that is the assembly of the estates, were held only in the year of 1614, right? So now if they are supposed to conduct the meeting of the assembly, they will be gathering all the ministers and the officials. They will discuss among themselves. They will be the people who will decide the beginning or decide the assembly meeting, when it has to be held and how it has to be held and who and all should be represented. All those things will be done by them only. And you can see here that we also saw political causes which we had, like Louis XVI was so anxious in annexing the kingdoms which have been located very close to him. He was interested in expanding his kingdom than considering about the common peoples. Yes. So here the common peoples were been demanding for the demanding for the organization of the estate meeting that has to be held. That is the assembly assembly meeting, gathering which has to be held. So what they are doing is they were being demanding, and it was being discussed among the peoples of the officials, and they decided a date, that is on May 5th, 1789, they have decided to have the meeting. So in that meeting, all the three estate peoples are supposed to represent. So in that you can see that the Louis XVI has gathered in the assembly of three estates, and he is ready to give the new taxes which he imposed on the people in that meeting. Okay, so the other peoples are representing in this manner. You can see that it is happening in the place in Versailles Palace, where it is there it is happening. Then the first estate people, that is the first estate. So what happens to the first estate is that from here you can find around 300 representatives were being there. So 300 people represented. Then you can find that from the other estate there was also representative. From the third estate there was around 600 people represented. You know how they were being made to sit. So if this is a palace area and the meetings are being held over here, you can find that the people of the first estate was made to sit here. Okay, sit here and in these areas. And the second estate people second estate representatives were being made to sit her in this order. Okay, this is first estate and this is the second estate. You know where the third estate peoples were supposed to be? They were being made to stand here, and few were even not allowed to enter into the assembly area itself. Few were being denied from entering into those areas. But you know, the third estate people, they had around 40,000 letters of demand which they were supposed to ask to the king to fulfill their needs. But what happened, you know, they were being denied. Their demands were not even considered. The grievances of them were not even listened by the kings. So what they did is, automatically what everyone will do, they started boycotting the assembly. Okay, so they left the assembly hall. They entered into a separate place where you will be knowing about it. It is a tennis court. Okay, it is an outdoor tennis court where they have seated, indoor tennis court where they have seated, and they started designing their own constitution. Okay, so in that constitution they say that the limitation of the power of the king has been done. That is the first priority of the constitution that was drafted on 20th June you can find. They have started drafting the constitution with the help of two other people. So as we know that the third estate people comprises of all the sections, like educated people were there, traders were being there, professionals were being there. So they started demanding for their own demands. When it is not granted, they started beginning their own aspects, like they started developing their own constitutions. Okay students, I hope you would have understood up to here. So after they move out of the assembly hall, what they did is that they entered into an indoor stadium and they started deciding and framing their own constitution. So in that, two important persons were being there who played a very important role, that is Merbau and Abbé, or the two people who were being really from a royal family, but they understood the condition of the third estate people and they started supporting them. Okay, and they asked, or they were being demanding for certain aspects like the abolition of the feudal privileges. So they don't want feudal privileges to happen. So he even brought out a journal which has been delivered with a powerful speech in which in the crowd of vassal was hearing these things. In that he says about the condition of the people, and Abbas is a person who has been bringing an palm thing which he is writing. In that he is writing what is in third estate. So how is in third estate decided? So what are their condition? How they are struggling? All these things have been mentioned in that. And when they started doing drafting of the constitution in the Versailles, the other side in the France, you can find there was so much of turmoil that was happening. What is this turmoil? Turmoil is a social disorder. There was too much of problem that was going on over there. You can find that, like if we have some problem between two communities, they will attack each other. Similar to that, they also, the people as well as the king's family and the common workers of the kings were being demolishing or destroying the common public's properties. So this was continuously happening. So you can find that during that time, when the social turmoil was happening over there was no proper bread and food for the people. Europeans, France people, basically they used to have bread as their basic food, right? So their bread price has risen, has increased a lot. And here also the bakers one who makes the bread, no? So bakers, were being very clever people, started utilizing this situation. So what they did, you know, they started exploiting this situation by storing it, hoarding it and utilizing it for their next aspects, like selling it at a higher price. So that was being done by the bakers. And you can also see that the peoples, after spending hours standing in the queues, they were not able to stand. So women started entering into the shops. They demolished everything. They wanted to take back the breads for their own kids. So that is how the situation was there in France. Then these things were being started spreading, and in the village, from one village to another village, you can find there was a thing that was spreading. That is the country's rumor that was spreading, that the king or the lord's manors are coming to destroy the crops of them. So this had made the common people to still more get angry, and they started getting feared, and they started demolishing the properties of the kings and other peoples. So because of which you can find that many ministers, many peoples of noble family had moved away from that particular area, and finally the king has agreed with the constituency which they have formed, that is the constitution, and in which they have reduced or limited the power of the king is the first objective. Second thing is they wanted the abolition of the feudal tax that was being there, that is the Thetis tax, and abolition of the feudal system was being done by them. And they also said that the king's power will be limited and the assembly, national assembly, will be having more power in all the other aspects also. So this was being done in the year of 4th August 1789, and the assembly passed a declaration that is abolishing the feudal system and abolishing the tax, which was being done by the assembly itself. Okay, and this taxes have been reduced, and by this you can find that government was able to acquire or gain around 2 billion livres. So by doing these kind of things, the government got profit, that they were able to earn back the 2 billion profits out of it. Okay, so this is what is about the outbreak of revolution, students. So please go through it, and I have given you the gist, I hope so. So we'll see the remaining content in the next class.